everyone, this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums. I am going to tell you how to decorate the pages in the Crafty Goals planner. Now I use the Graphic 45 Life is Abundant 8x8 collection. The only thing different I used was to decorate the cover. I had some papers left over from a nature journal and I decorated the cover with that. But I am going to take you step by step in the process I used to decorate the uh, each month. Now, I will do a review every month. I will be doing on my Crafty Goals video, which will be on the first of the month. I will be decorating as I tell you how I succeeded in my goals or failed in my goals. So it will just be visual, but it's easy to follow along. And if you want to decorate month by month, the first of the month will do the pages for that month. So let me take you inside and show you how to decorate. Before I get any further, I'll tell you, so there is a tutorial on how to make the planner uh, in another video, and I will link that. And there's also a more detailed walkthrough in another video, and that will also be in the description box. Now, I really changed the format of the pages. I felt like I didn't get into the rhythm of it until the latter part of the year, like the September, October, November, December months. So I'm going to use those as sort of my template for how to do all of the months. So if you'll notice, it's going to be different. What I did in January on my planner is a little different. I used the focal point in the month and the monthly goals um, just in a different way. Of course, the graphic's going to be different each month. The size of the month will be different. My deadlines and commitments lines may change based on what the graphics are that go along with each month. Couple of things you'll want to print out from your computer before you do this is I found actually on Canva 2024 the month, and I just cut each month out and I did the other sections to go along with it. The deadlines and commitments, projects I want to do, smash my stash, and monthly goals. I just printed out on just some cardstock. Okay, a couple of basic things. First of all, we're going to do the pages. There's 4 pages for each month. Now, again, there is a video to show you how to make this planner. Each of the page is 4 inches wide. So most of my items are going to cut to 3 7/8, 3 3/4. It depends on the graphic because, again, they were all different sizes. I'm going to start out with the month. Now, I cut down where it says January to 3 3/4 and put it on a piece of cardstock that is 3 7/8 wide. So that will fit on the top of the page. Sometimes I'll put the month on the top, sometimes I'll put it down in the middle. It depends on what graphic is on the page preceding it, just so I can break up, just so the lines aren't all matchy-matchy. So anyhow, so first thing you need to do is cut out the month. Actually, first thing you need to do is cut out all of the graphics for each month. You cut it in half generally, and then cut all of the different focal points off. So this one is beautiful, beautiful. I guess it's a moth. I'm not sure it's a butterfly. But anyhow, I cut that down and that will go underneath where it says January. That is just about 4 inches tall, so it takes up a lot of space. I did use 2 pages for each month, and I'm repeating some of the elements, so you'll see that moth later in the month. You could cover it up or not use it for this, use it in a different project, and make your list of your goals longer if you wanted to. I keep mine very simple. If I have too many goals, then I get too flustered. There's a couple of strips on the pages that have different wording. There's a large one, a medium size, and a small one. That small one's the orange one. I'm taking the large one and using that to break up the space. So that'll go underneath the focal image. And again, this is cut to 3 7/8. Uh, you can adjust it whatever size you want to. And then the next thing I'm going to have on the front page of the month is my monthly goals. Now, again, they're just going to be very basic goals. Now, I take, this is an alcohol marker. It's an old one I've had. I think I picked it up a Tuesday morning. And hopefully this won't bother you, but I have to cover some of the graphics in my, the cut apart. So I've got that monthly goals again. I printed that out. I just did it in Word or Pages, whatever you have in your word processing. I'm using a corner punch. It's going to be the stub punch. I just want to cut out that corner. That stub punch is broken, so if it looks funky to you, it's because part of it fell off. And I'll just make it look like a stub. Yeah, see, I have that one side, but the other one fell off and I can't glue it. I need to get another one. Now I will take and black out all of the graphics around the edge of it, except for each corner has this little sun, a quarter of a sun with some sun rays coming off of it. I'm going to keep that on there. I'm going to black out where it says the constellations and the moths. Now there is another one. We're going to have 2 pages of each month, and so we will have another one showing. So I'm just going to go around the edge as carefully as I can. It doesn't have to be exact. You could use a ruler if you want it to be a little more exact. Now this corner is a little tough because the rays that are coming out don't show up as well because there's an image of a moth right under it. So I'm just trying to differentiate the rays from the moth. If you have this collection, take a look. You'll see a little bit better what I'm talking about. And then I'm just going to color in around the perimeter of this cut apart. I don't have to color everything in because that monthly goal cut apart or printable, that it's not a printable because I didn't make it a printable, but that monthly goals piece of paper to the right is going to be glued on top of it. But I don't want the graphics to show. So I know Graphic 45 artists, I'm sorry. I am sort of erasing your beautiful work, but it shows through in another month or another page. I have this graphic, this cut apart showing on another page, so don't fear. And I'm just going along again the edge. I think I'm using my whiter part of the marker. It just sort of erases it. I know some Graphic 45 purists will say this is blasphemy. You're erasing this beautiful artwork. And yes, I am. But I purchased it. I can use it how I want now, can I? So you see, I just kept the center of it. And now this monthly goal will fit right on there. And it's a perfect spot to put my goals. So I follow that, the goals where you make sure that they're attainable, measurable. Oh, I forget all of the other uh, acronyms that it stands for, but so, I mean, my main goal is to use my stash. So I'll put that on here, and then later in the month, I will put exactly what my goals are, how I'm going to attain that. Okay, I shouldn't have glued down that top part, but I did. I forgot I was going to make a tab at the very top for where it says January. So I'm going to put it on the back. In February, I will put it on both pages, but I messed up here. The way I make that little tab is I have that tab punch, and you can do it any way you want, but I want to put January. There's, of course, another January from the second page from the Graphic 45 collection. So what I'm going to do is just fold this paper. I don't even put it on my scoreboard. I'm just folding it by hand. And then I'm taking my tab punch and putting it so the folded end is on the right. I don't cut on the fold. I pull it back just a little bit so that fold is still showing. You can see the folded part. And then I punch. So now the piece that I'm going to have is like a double tab. So one end I'm going to glue onto the page. And since it's January, it's going to go on the very top of the page. I try to space it so you can see the months at a glance. So by the time I hit December, that's going to be on the bottom of the page. Now, if you want, you could do January through May and then June through December. Like June will start at the top again so you can see them all, but it's not that important. I know if I need the beginning of the year to go towards the top of the page, it's going to have January. So now I'll put that on, and then I will add another piece of the punch on the front of it just to make it a little bit stronger. Then I'm taking January from, again, that second page. There's 2 pages in that 8x8 pack. And I'm just putting it in my tab punch. Sorry, it's off of the screen, but you'll see in a second what I did. So there it is. There's January, and I add glue to the back and put that on my tab. So there we go. All right, so we're done with page 1 of January, the front of page 1. So you can see how the tabs go through till December. All right, I'm happy with that. I have a spot to write my monthly goal. Now let's do the back of page 1. And I have not done the cover yet, the inside cover. I'll do that later. So the front of page 1 and the back of page 1 create a pocket. So there is a pocket for that. And then there is a separate piece of paper that made the second page of January. All right, let's do the back of page 1. We have front of page 1, back of page 1, front of page 2, back of page 2 for January. All right, so I'm going through what I have. Here's the calendar I printed. I just put in on Canva 2024 yearly calendar and picked one out that looked like it was going to have about the size that I needed. So here is the part I'm going to use that I'm going to glue the calendar on. And I am once again going to take my marker. You could use a Sharpie if you don't have an alcohol marker, or you could just leave it plain if you wanted to. But I'm leaving the zodiac sign, the stars and the moons on the top. And I think all I have to do is probably take off a little bit of the wings and some of the bottom part, because that January calendar is going to fill up most of it. I'm leaving those stamps on the side, and that whole piece, the 2 stamps and the, you see where I use my marker, and the butterfly or moth, whatever it is, will comprise a 3 3/8 section. I'm sorry, 3 7/8 section. And then I put January on there, and that's going to go on the top of the page. I'm leaving the stamps there. They're pretty. So just adding glue, and I'll get that part done. Okay, and then after I glue that on, the next part is going to be my deadlines and commitments. And again, since this is my monthly goals, I want to make sure that I don't forget things that I've promised to people. So that's why I have a section. Of course, here you could do gratitude, you could do positive affirmations, you could do whatever you want on here, but I made this to work for what I needed it for. This is one of the larger pieces, again, cut to 3 7/8. I think I cut that deadlines and commitments down a little bit too short, and I moved it over to the left-hand side. But since I cut it a little bit too thin, I took one of those really thin pieces and put it there on the right-hand side just so it sort of fills up the space and looks more pleasing to the eye to me. And then the last piece for this page is that little cut apart with the two circles next to it. I think one's a zodiac sign and one might even say January. Now this I had to cut down. I lost some of the image, but that's okay. You don't lose too much of it. So that is the back of page 1. All right, now I'm going back to looking at all the components I have left. I'm going to take again that focal image of that beautiful, beautiful moth. And then below that, projects for the month. So that's where I put exactly what I wanted to do for the month. I think for January, I put the paper pads that I wanted to complete to use. And then on the bottom of the page, I have just enough room for this little cut apart, but I also have that zodiac where it's got the moon phases, and I sort of like that. So some months I'll have one, some months I'll have the other. But of course, to fill up the space, I needed to use that thinnest little cut apart and put down, then put the phases of the moon. And you could actually write when the full moon is, when the waxing gibbons, waning gibbons, and new moon or whatever. You could write that down if you want to write on there, if that's the kind of thing you follow. But that's it for the front of page 3. I'm saying, sorry, front of page 2. Now the back of page 2. I lost track. So here is that where it says the constellations. So we get to see this graphic. I'm not going to cover it up. I'm not taking my marker and covering any of the gorgeousness of this paper. And then I put use my stash. So that is the focus for my year, is to use my stash. I'm not telling you that I'm not going to buy things, but I'm also supplementing the things I purchased with things from my stash. I mean, I had a goal when I started my YouTube channel to use everything in my stash in a year. Well, holy moly. I mean, I have a lot less paper than a lot of people do. I have a list of the paper. But still, I mean, it's about 40 paper pads maybe. I mean, if I can't get 2 items from my stash done in a month, there's no way I could get 40 in a year. So I'm just doing the best to use it. And then, of course, you can see that other graphic. I'm going to first use one of the wider pieces right under the Use My Stash, and then put that graphic onto the right-hand side of the page. Oops. And then I cut apart some of the stamps, and I'm just going to individually put those down. Of course, I'm sure you will look at this and say, oh, I would do it different, and that's fine. Have at it. This is just sort of a guideline on how I decorated my pages. It works for me and serves the purpose. My goal planning, I try to keep it very simple and very basic. I found in the 5 years I've been doing my crafty goals that if I get too in the weeds with it, I'd lose focus. Okay, now this is the piece that goes inside the hidden pocket. It is, I think, 3.5 wide. So I cut this paper just a smidgen smaller, 1/8 of an inch smaller. I use the whitest graphic, and I do it on the front and back. I think I just show you me putting it on the front because this part will stick out. What I use this for is and look at my Crafty Goals video, I take snippets of all of the collections that I have completed and put that in there because sometimes it's neat to see at a glance what I've done. So now here's a review, the different papers. that I've used. Now, every month on the first of the month, I'm going to be decorating the pages of that month in my Crafty Goals video, which will come out at noon on the first of the month. If you'd like to, you can use this video, just go back to it, just replace, where it says January for February or March or whatever, and just do it in the same fashion. But that is how I decorate the months of my Crafty Goals plan. Thanks so much for watching. Have a fabulous day.